It's not often that a movie will cause me an extreme physical or verbal reaction. Usually I enjoy my films in stone-faced, quiet contemplation, sitting at a perfect 90-degree angle and with one hand poised on the remote control in case I need to adjust the volume. But The Night Comes for Us is one of those movies that had me cackling like a loon, had me hooting like an owl. I don't think I've ever seen so much carnage. You can feel every punch, every broken bone and torn ligament. It's a movie that puts its main character through hell, going so far as to stick a box cutter through his face. That was when I knew for sure I was watching something really special, was the box cutter through the face. Not only does the box cutter go through this guy's face, but the dude breaks off the blade in his mouth and spits it out. If that's not a ringing endorsement for a film, then I don't know what is. The gore reaches such heights that you begin to pick up on a certain horror movie influence, an element of Evil Dead or Friday the 13th. There's what seems to be a Texas Chainsaw Massacre reference during a fight in a butcher's shop. At one point, our hero stabs a guy in the chest with a pool cue like he's staking a vampire. There's so much blood and guts on display that Tom Savini would be proud. The plot, meanwhile, is relatively straightforward. A triad enforcer betrays the organization to save a young girl. The two go on the run, returning to the man's old stomping grounds where he prepares their escape to another country, meanwhile reconnecting with his old gang, his ex-girlfriend, and fending off a slew of triad goons and colorful, cold-blooded assassins. It's your classic redemption arc, with our hero Ito having to sort of retrace his steps to try and figure out where he went wrong in the first place. He's as much the hangdog high school quarterback trying to sift through his broken dreams as he is the hardened triad killing machine who's suddenly grown a conscience. Lead actor Joe Taslim has just the sort of presence to convincingly play a guy that's routinely covered in his own and other people's blood. The dude is a menace. He looks like a tiger out of his cage as he beats wave after wave of goons into a bloody pulp. At the same time, Joe Taslim's mean mug serves as effective counterpoint to a certain underlying sentimentality. It's a well-worn trope by now, the gruff, tough guy looking after the imperiled young girl, a man who's dangerous, who's morally gray, but whose overriding paternal instinct betrays his underlying virtue. Here, as is often the case, what drives our hero isn't just the inherent virtue of saving this young girl, it's also a striving for redemption, trying to make up for a life of wrongdoing in a single act of ultimate self-sacrifice. With that in mind, the gore and the mayhem isn't just ornamental, isn't just an attention-grabbing stylistic choice. Ito going through hell serves as a sort of testament to his trying to change, a contract signed in blood and egregious bodily harm. It's almost masochistic, a kind of self-punishment. Our hero seeks redemption by throwing himself into a maelstrom of bullets, fists, machetes, and bone saws. I think maybe part of the reason the bloodshed is as hard-hitting as it is because there's a sort of spiritual desperation to it. Our hero is committing an act of repentance. In contrast with Ito's search for redemption, there's Ariane, his former friend turned antagonist who's trying to make a name for himself in the triad. Between Ito and Ariane, there's a sort of conflict between the spiritual and the material, each moving in opposite directions from one to the other and colliding in one of the greatest mano-a-mano throwdowns ever put on film. The final confrontation serves as an exclamation point on the movie's ever-escalating maelstrom of violence, the former friends punching, kicking, slashing, stabbing, and otherwise mutilating each other until only one of them is left standing, but only barely, and who knows for how long. To wrap it up here, The Night Comes for Us is an absolute essential for any fan of action and martial arts films. It's got mayhem, it's got balls-to-the-wall fight choreography filmed and performed with gusto. And it's got a little bit of heart to boot. Maybe my only complaint is that the movie is exclusive to Netflix with no DVD or Blu-ray version available that I could find. At a time when streaming services are beginning to mothball their own exclusives as tax write-offs, I worry that one day a movie like The Night Comes for Us might become impossible or hard to find. In the meantime, though, I'll be looking forward to whatever these fighting Indonesian screwballs come up with next.